Attorney's Office would like to announce charges against 4 individuals involved in the disappearance and the murder of 2 people in February of this year. On Monday, February the 19th, 2018, Rockford Police Department conducted an investigation into the disappearance of 22-year-old Danielle Son, Danielle's boyfriend, 25-year-old Sergio Quiroz, and her estranged husband, 26-year-old Son. On February 22nd, the bodies of Danielle Son and Sergio Quiroz were located at Blackhawk Park at 101 15th Avenue in Rockford. After that, autopsies were conducted by the Winnebago County Coroner's Office, and it revealed that Danielle Son and Sergio Quiroz were the victims of gunshot wounds. During the course of this investigation, Son was discovered to be and was developed as a suspect. The Rockford Police Department was able to locate Son, and during the course of an attempt to get Mr. Son to surrender, Mr. Son took his life with a gunshot wound to the head. A subsequent autopsy of Son did reveal that it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound that resulted in his death. Further investigation by the Rockford Police Department has resulted in charges against the following: Ha Clear Uto, date of birth 10/10/1990, faces 2 counts of concealment of a homicide death. He is the brother of Son, the suspect in the shootings and deaths of Danielle and Sergio. He is currently under arrest and is being held by a $250,000 bond in the Winnebago County Jail. As said, he faces 2 counts of concealment of a homicide and 1 count of obstruction of justice. Also charged are Blais. Blais is got a date of birth of 6/1/1997 and faces 1 count of obstruction of justice. Blais is the sister of Son and has a $100,000 bond and is in custody in the Winnebago County Jail. The next person that has been charged is Thi Da Cho, date of birth 6/13/1987. Thi Da Cho faces 1 count of obstruction of justice, and Thi Da Cho is also the sister of the suspect Son, and faces a count of obstruction of justice. As I indicated, the bond is $100,000. Thi Da Cho is in custody in the Winnebago County Jail. And the last defendant is Na, date of birth 1/1/67. Na also faces a 1 count of obstruction of justice. Na is the mother of So and has a $50,000 bond, is in custody. All the defendants will be appearing in court today at 1:30, March 2nd, 2018, in Courtroom B. The charges are merely allegations, and the defendants are presumed innocent until or unless proven guilty in a court of law. This case remains in ongoing investigation and also remains in ongoing prosecution. The Winnebago County State's Attorney's Office does not foreclose that other charges may be forthcoming, but today we wanted to make sure that we informed the public of the progress in this investigation as well as the progress with regards to the prosecution. From the standpoint of the State's Attorney's Office, this case is a matter that has been taken very seriously by our community, and it has had a strong impact. And we intend in the criminal justice system to make sure that we do everything we can to hold individuals accountable for their actions. We are not at any point in time going to allow individuals to participate, conceal homicides, provide false information to the police department designed to thwart apprehension opportunities or to impede investigations and prosecutions. Individuals that are going to participate in crimes and think that they are going to go unnoticed or undetected or not held accountable are wrong. The Rockford Police Department and all law enforcement agencies and the Winnebago County State's Attorney's Office intend to hold people accountable for their actions, especially if you're going to participate in violent crimes and crimes that result in those that have lost their lives in unfortunate and tragic circumstances as a result of the offenses that we have discussed and the actions of Hansel. We always ask that the community provide information with regards to any investigation that they have. This remains an ongoing investigation, so we will continue to see that individuals that are involved are brought to justice. I'd like to ask Chief O'Shea to step forward at this time, offer his thoughts and comments, and then we'll open it up for questions. Chief?
I want to thank the State's Attorney's Office for continuing to work with our investigators. They continue to work on the case and have since the beginning of the investigation. We appreciate the community stepping up, providing information, but more so, we don't stop investigating just because part of the incident is done. This is a tragic case. 2 individuals lost their lives. Many other people will be affected by this, and we will continue to prosecute those that tried to thwart our efforts and also committed further criminal acts during the initial incident. So I appreciate all the assistance of the State's Attorney's Office with our investigators, and we'll move forward from here.
Questions, Gio? We'll let you go first there.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that.
Not a problem.
I understand that Patu is accused of placing the bodies of Danielle and Sergio in the trunk of a car. Was that in the trunk of Hanson's car? Can you tell me what car we're referring to?
Well, this is an ongoing investigation and an ongoing prosecution. I think at this point in time to try to put that information out there might hinder us. Obviously, it involved a vehicle, and we're willing to acknowledge that at this time. It took a vehicle to transport the bodies. That is our belief. That's what we are alleging occurred. But at this point in time, that detailed information, I'm concerned, might impede the investigation and might provide an opportunity for individuals that we might be looking at, or further information we might be looking for, might affect our ability to get an investigation or a prosecution completed. But it did involve a vehicle. We're willing to acknowledge that at this time.
Where the victims were shot?
I mean, as in where in their bodies,
No,
or where was the physically located?
Physical location of where the murders occurred, and then to follow up, how many shots were involved in the shooting?
Yeah. We're alleging that the shootings occurred at the home of Danielle, but at this point in time, the physical locations of those gunshot wounds will withhold that information at this time. I mean, as in physically located on their bodies.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question. Well,
how did you guys find out that they were involved in the case in the beginning?
Good investigation of the Rockford Police Department has led to the information that we had that leads to the charges today. A lot of that information was generated through statements they've taken, physical evidence that they've looked at. as they would in any investigation. And that gave us the evidence necessary to develop the charges. I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's certainly, number one, hats off to the Rockford Police Department. Excellent investigation, gave us the ability to do that. But it was a collection of statements, evidence that the Rockford Police Department was able to analyze as they would in any good investigation that gave that to us. And I think also working with citizens in the community, seeing what information they had. So it's a good combination of good, solid police work on all those fronts. Gio?
Maybe this is for the chief. Did Son tell police on the phone where the bodies were found?
I won't go into that. Son did admit to committing the murders. I will tell you that. But as far as the homicides, where it occurred, and the bodies, that's going to play into the concealment of the homicidal deaths, and that's an ongoing prosecution and case. So I can't really talk about that.
Did you ever say where in Black Hawk Park they were dumped? Did you say that?
I didn't say where. I'll let the chief or Chief Ogden or Lieutenant Wisnahan respond to that. My understanding is it was near the bridge area, but I'll let them talk a little bit more about the detailed location.
I don't know if we want to, if that's going to, at this point, with the ongoing prosecutions for concealment of homicidal death, we're not going to give specifics with regards to the bodies at this point.
Yeah.
Can you give us an idea of when exactly he became a suspect in the middle of all of this?
Well, I'm going to let the chief respond to that, but my initial impression is that when you're investigating a case of this nature, they were always looking at these three individuals because they were all, at some point in time, not able to account for their whereabouts. So they were taking a look at all of them to see what had happened. At what point in time they became more of a suspect rather than a person missing. It was just part of the flow of the investigation itself and where the evidence and the information was leading them to determine that Son was potentially a suspect. I don't know that that answers your question. I can't say there's a particular point in time. They all three were missing. They were looking for all three. It was an ongoing investigation, and at some point in time, the information in the investigation began to turn towards Son as a suspect rather than just a missing person. Chief, do you want to add to that?
It's just kind of what the state's attorney was saying. Once we obtained enough probable cause where we believed he had something to do with the kidnapping of the individuals, I would say that would be the final point where, okay, we believe we have probable cause that he is committed a kidnapping and he is a suspect. So, when there is no set time that we look at everybody and then we follow the evidence and the leads and then review the case when we think we have enough to charge somebody with something.
Can you speak about the false statements that they did say to try to get Son out of trouble?
No, we're not going to get into the exact statements that were made that led to the obstruction of justice charges themselves. Certainly, that's for today, though. I mean, as the case progresses and should it reach a trial standpoint, but at some point in the future we'll be glad to give the exact statements. But at this point in time, the State's Attorney's Office is alleging that false information was provided to the Rockford Police Department designed to thwart apprehension or impede the prosecution. Forms the basis of the obstruction of justice charges. And one more time also that we're alleging that Son's brother did knowingly participate in the concealment of the bodies, knowing that these were homicide victims and that he attempted to participate in the concealment of those homicides.
Were they shot on Saturday night?
That's information that I can't provide to you at this time, Gio.